Hello students, we've been looking at Augusta Savage. She was an artist who, against all odds, became an amazing sculptor. She's known for artworks like this. This is called a bust. It's a portrait of an actual person. This one's entitled Gammon. You can see that she was very tender and emotional about all of her subjects. And as a kid, she started with animals she loved, like ducks. These kinds of animals were all around where she was growing up in Florida. Ducks, geese, and more. So we're going to learn how to make a bird kind of animal out of clay, and you can change the shape of yours to be whatever kind of bird you want. The most important thing for you to do with clay is follow the steps. First, we're going to make a pinch pot. So we make a sphere, we poke it, and then we turn and press it to make even walls. Basically make a little pot. If you don't follow the steps or you use a solid piece of clay, you might have an air bubble inside. We want to make a pinch pot so you don't have any of these air bubbles that might be hiding in your clay. Why? Because we're going to cook this in a kiln or fire it in a kiln. It's an incredibly hot stove, and an air bubble will make your clay piece explode. So, creating a pinch pot is a great way to get your clay ready to fire in the kiln because it will make it even and hollow. You won't have to worry about air bubbles at all. So, like the directions said, begin with a sphere. I'm bumping it with my hand, grabbing off some little dry bits. And bit by bit, slowly, I'm creating a nice round sphere. I'm using my thumbs, and I'm getting it to be nice and round, mostly by pushing down any protrusions, any pointy parts. I used my fingertips to get a drip of water and just add in a little bit more moisture. Notice to get a really smooth round ball is not that fast. Slowly creating your ball will get it the smoothest and the densest. Then I push my thumb in. I'm going to push down, and then I'm going to spin my clay and slowly, bit by bit, as I rotate it again and again, create a pinch pot. I'm looking to have even sides and a sturdy lip. That's the top part. Notice I'm sometimes rubbing, smoothing, and condensing my upper lip so that it doesn't get too thin or cracked. So watch closely your top lip of your pinch pot and make sure there is no cracks or that it gets too thin. So there's a perfect pinch pot, even on all sides. Bottom and sides are all even, just to take a look at what that will look like. This is an example of a not so good pinch pot where the top got cracked and too thin and the clay is really thick on bottom, so there might be an air bubble in there. I think I see one. So that's not a good pinch pot. We want an even pinch pot that you can feel with your inner eyes. And we want a thick top. Let's check this one out. Oh, this one has really thick walls, and we want to make them a little bit thinner. So to make a duck, you have to stretch your pinch pot into a duck form. We don't want to just stick on a neck and head or stick on a tail. We want to squish the clay into a duck. So I'm going to smooth my pinch pot. I'm going to slowly squeeze it a little bit more into a taco shape. With my finger in the top, I'm making a duck with my left hand and I'm squeezing it, adding a bit of moisture to bring the clay up into a neck and head form. I'm keeping it thick and I'm not letting it get too thin because we want the neck to be sturdy. I'm working very slowly so that I don't squish anything too quickly. I just squished the duck down so that it will sit nice and flat on the table. And I used also my right hand to pinch gently a bit of a tail. Notice I'm keeping all of my duck parts nice and thick and not letting them get too thin or cracked. I'm smoothing and just working very slowly. This footage is sped up as well, so you will take a lot longer than this, and your clay will thank you for it. Clay likes to move and form slowly and not too quickly or violently. So just gently smoothing and smoothing. This is the longest part of any clay project, is your smoothing. You can make tiny adjustments to the neck and beak until you think it looks like a duck or whatever bird animal you're aiming for. Don't use too much water, only a few drips is what you need. The last step of your project is to add texture. I have paper clips for this. You can use U shapes, you can use straight lines, you can use little scrapes. This is a little squinty eye I just made with my paper clip. I'm liking this. It just looks like a happy little duck eye. And you can think about how the duck has nostrils on top of its beak. Here's another way you can form a bird. I did the pinch pot. I smoothed out the lip and didn't get it too thin. And then I squinched its head up into an even larger shape. I'm smoothing and letting it stay nice and thick. And this neck's going to be a little bit longer. This can be a longer necked animal like a goose or a swan. I'm slowly pushing it where I want, all the while strengthening, smoothing, combining the clay as much as I can. Anything that isn't smoothed and strengthened will usually break off before we can even get it to the kiln. And as I've said before, clay loves to be condensed, so pushing from two sides, inside and outside, supporting the neck while I smooth it with my other hand. Those things will make my clay figure nice and strong and not break. I'm keeping everything about as thick as a cookie. I'm not going any thinner than that. For the texture on this swan, I'm going to try a scraping technique. And so I want you to see how a duck, when it is properly made, kind of looks like a pinch pot. It will be evenly fired in the kiln and it won't explode. It has an open top or an open bottom and even walls. Here's another thing you can try. If you don't want your animal or your duck to have an open top, you can give it an open bottom. I've created a pinch pot here. I'm making sure it stays a little bit moist. And then I am going to still use the sides of my pinch pot to move up clay into a head and neck and a tail. I'm keeping my thumb inside so that the hole stays open. And I'm gently mushing clay up into a head and neck. Slow and steady, but lots of clay to stay thick and strong. Remember, you control your clay. And there's a nice tail. Then I can start to smooth out this duck while it has a hole on the bottom. It's hidden and it looks like a solid duck, but it's going to do great in the kiln because it actually has an opening and is hollow. I want you to see how I'm using the paper clip to lightly do some dented texture and to make sure the bottom is clear. And there we have it.